Okay, are we live?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
we are live.
Great. Then I will go ahead at 10 a.m. call the meeting to order. Do we have any agenda items to be removed?
No, we do not.
Okay. Public business from the floor, agendized items. In accordance with Governor's Order N2920, the public may observe this telephonic virtual meeting by listening to the live broadcast on local cable channel 28 or live stream on the city's website. The public may participate in the meeting by dialing 1-888-475-4499 using meeting ID 915-9712-4226, password 270180#. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each unless a different time limit is announced. Do we have any? Let's see. Do we have any public comments at this time?
No, we do not.
Okay. Roll call.
Commissioners Brown,
Present.
Fuller,
Present.
Harris, Commissioner Harris.
Commissioner Harris let me know that he was not going to be able to attend this morning.
Okay. Commissioner Herr will not be in attendance as well. Commissioner Madrano.
Present.
Vice Chair Little.
Present.
Chairman Mercy.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. To lead our invocation this morning, we have Pastor and Councilman Daryl Doris. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Glad to be here. Let's pray. Father, we come before you right now. God, we ask for wisdom. You said in your word that if any man needed wisdom, was to ask for it. We pray right now for righteous judgment. We pray, God, that you will not only just protect our officers and those that serve, first responders, but that, God, you will look over the world right now in these times that keep seeming turbulent. I pray right now for the leaders here in this city, locally, God, that loves this city. I pray that you continue to give them wisdom and knowledge on how to lead us, God, and keep us safe. Keep harm from coming to the citizens. I pray, God, that you give them innovative ideas, ways on how to do it, God, that makes everyone feel equitable and equal. I thank you right now, God, for the work that they do, the sacrifice that they make. I pray that you bless them, God, for what they do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Daryl.
Let's see if Vice Chair Little could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I know we're all remote. If you don't have a flag where you're at, the tradition is to face east. So we'll take a moment for that. So.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, consent calendar. We have approval of the minutes, CC number 1. Do we have any comments on the commissioner comments on the consent calendar? Hearing none, any public comment?
At this time, anyone wishing to comment on item CC1, please press *9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your call-in number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please press *9 at this time. There are no speakers.
Okay. Any further commissioner comments? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have who made the motion?
Dr.
Okay. Did staff get all that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Any objection to passing the motion as presented? Hearing none, motion carries.
We will do a roll call vote.
Oh, okay.
Commissioners Brown,
In favor.
Fuller,
In favor.
Madrano,
In favor?
Vice Chair Little,
Favor.
Chairman Mercy.
Aye.
It passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Commission and staff presentation updates, starting with LA County Sheriff's Department.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, familiar faces out there. For those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Deputy Lawrence Green. I'm the Community Relations Deputy for Lancaster Sheriff Station. Today, I'll be doing a presentation on our Crime Commission report, as well as our comp stats for the city of Lancaster. We're going to start with the Crime Commission report for February 2021. Burglaries. Total amount of burglaries, it's going to be 36 in total. Residential is 15, way down from 32. Oh, awesome. It has the actual slide. Amazing. Commercial burglaries are 21, down from 26. So overall, our burglaries are down for the month of February from January. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next slide. The next slide is going to be our robbery slide. Robberies, total robberies will be 20. They're also going to be down. So armed robberies, 8, down from 19 in January. Strong arm robberies, 11. Actually, those are going to be up. They were at 8 in January for our robbery section. We'll go ahead and move on to the next slide. Lancaster Station does have to adjust for the community engagement process. So we've been doing virtual workshops and then attending physical community events when possible, obviously abiding by the CDC guidelines. So has been an adjustment, but we've been actually adjusting very well. So that's what I have for our Crime Commission report for February. Are there any questions on this engagement or slides regarding the armed robberies or burglaries? No? Okay. We're going to go ahead and move on to our comp city stats of Lancaster for February 2021. Excellent. Okay, so we're going to start with our first slide, which is the homicide slide. All right, we're going to be averaging about 2 on that slide for the month of February 2021. I'm sorry, and then we're going to be below. Actually, it's at 1. So homicides will be 1 for February. We'll go over to the slides for rapes. Excellent. Rapes we have for the month of February is going to be 10. We'll move over to our next slide, robberies. For February, we're going to be at about 20. Move over to our next slide, aggravated assaults. Aggravated assaults is going to be about 50, and those are also going to be down as well. All right, we're moving to our domestic violence related aggravated assaults. We're going to be down quite a bit to 5 for domestic violence for the month of February. Let's move on to our burglaries. Burglaries are also going to be down to 36. We're going to move over to our larceny thefts. We're going to be below average, averaging under 101, so below average on that as well. Grand theft vehicle. Grand theft vehicle averaging around 67 for the month of February. And then our arsons, our last slide. Yeah, last slide for arsons is going to be up a little over 5. We're going to be around 8 for arsons in the month of February. And then we have our prime hotspots for the city of Lancaster. There we go. As we can see, we're about still around the business areas, 20th Street West and K. Also, we're looking around 1122 RD and 20th Street East and J as well, which is our business districts. Do we have any questions as far as the comp stats for the city of Lancaster? Nope.
Todd,
All right,
I'm sorry.
If I may, just for a quick
Thank
second, it's Captain Weber. It's been good to see everybody again. It's been a long time since we've all met. Just to kind of give you an overview how we ended last year overall and how we're looking this year. We ended the year last year, 2020. Part 1 crimes were down about 17%. Even with the spike we had, we saw that as the pandemic began, we saw some crimes drop with everyone being home, burglaries and that kind of stuff. We're going down with everyone home. But our aggravated assaults were going up now 17 or 18%. And we saw that number creeping up all year long. And by the end, we still ended down for the year aggravated assaults. I want to say 2 or 3%, but there had been a steady increase, and that's continuing. And we're seeing that all over the county, probably all over the state with aggravated assaults. As we speak right now, they're up about 10% in the city. And so that's driving our numbers up. But our biggest problem that we're seeing in the city, and we're seeing it everywhere, is grand theft autos. That's driving our numbers considerably. We're up to about, we were messing around, hovering around 30 to 40% up, and it spiked recently. We're up 60% year to date. And it's really just driven by the fact that with the pandemic, the courts went to a zero bail system, trying to keep the population in the jails down to keep COVID under control. And they went to a zero bail system. And what that means is basically if you commit a crime and you're arrested in the state of California, you're basically going to get released on a site and issued a court date. And this is a very serious, violent felony crime. Very few bodies are held. If we have repeat customers who keep getting rearrested, we can apply to get the bail enhanced and move it up. And they are starting to help us out on that some. But in reality, we're seeing repeat customers on GTAs constantly. It's a huge problem. And what we're seeing is they're stealing cars just for a ride. They steal them here in Lancaster. They might drive to Palmdale. They might drive to Santa Clarita, dump the car there, or they might steal the car there, bring it up here. They might steal it here and drive across town and dump it, not stripped, just strictly taking it for a ride. Because really there's not a whole lot of risk for them in these property crimes. So that's driving. But we're still down. Even today, we're down about 2.25% in the city. And we're monitoring that. And I'm sure you've all heard that the catalytic converter thefts, those we're still seeing that. Deputy Green has a program going where we're marking catalytic converters with an etcher, marking the catalytic converter with a car's license plate, so we can identify the victim if we arrest people with these converters, or we inspect the businesses that are buying them on a recycling market for their precious metals that are in them. If we go in and inspect them and they have a whole bunch of catalytic converters that are all ground down where we're marking them, it makes it helps our detectives out trying to get cases filed. And Deputy Green is working on a program to start working in the community, hitting churches and different groups to work with them, partner with them, and get these catalytic converters marked up to hopefully slow that down. But the problems that we're seeing in Lancaster, we're seeing across the county, pretty much across the board, and we're working to address them. But overall, we ended 2020 very well. We're still in the on the good side of zero for our percentages, like down to 2.25. And like I said, most of it is driven by GTAs. Everything else is either down or not too much of an increase, but GTAs, grand theft autos are really driving the numbers. So if you have any questions, I'm open. If not, it's good to see everybody again.
Can I switch to the part 1 crime hot spot areas? Section 1126. Where I see right along K there, and I kind of know where the one spot is, but can you elaborate a little bit more on K right there? It's pretty dark right
So
there.
K and 20.
Yeah.
K and 20th Street West is going to be right around where the Albertsons parking lot is in the Jack in the Box that's over there. I don't know how if you're in that area, but there's a large supermarket. I think it's Albertsons. There's Jack in the Box, and there's the Chinese food places.
Yeah, this seems more. This seems more east.
Hotel.
Yeah, it
A
looks
little bit
like
more east. Okay.
This is more east. This is more east than that.
Okay.
This would
so
be
if we go a
down
little
probably maybe 17th Street.
17th around the Lancaster Inn, and then
Yes, that's going to be Lancaster Inns. Yeah, that's going to be that area. Sunset Ridge, in between there as well. I'm trying to think that 11 right around there.
There's a hotel right there.
What large? Yeah, but there's a hotel there as well. Yeah.
Is that an issue?
Well,
We have a lot of.
hang on, can I comment on that real quick? I'm sorry,
Absolutely.
we're talking over Commissioner Little. Yeah, that was a hot spot. The deputies have been doing a lot of work in that area. So there's been a lot of proactive work done by the station, specifically targeted at that area because of the issues around it. We also have a lot of density with the homeless population around there as well. So some of our larceny numbers, but just to the good side of that is they have new ownership of that particular location. All right. They're cleaning that place up. They've diminished the number of vouchers they were taking there significantly, and they're spending some money on beautification. So
awesome.
There's some significant improvement that's taken place based on their collaboration with the.
We had quite a dip in aggravated assaults a month or two ago. And they were looking at what was caused, what they thought was dealing or really drove the dip that much. And it really was. It was, they felt it was the new management there at the Lancaster Inn, and they had seen a dip in the activity that they dealt with there when that ownership change occurred or management change.
Great. Thank you.
okay. And was there anything else, Deputy Green?
Nope, that's all I have today, unless you guys have any further questions.
Oh, okay. Any questions for LA Sheriff's Department? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next we have the LA County Probation Department update. Are they with us today?
No, I do not believe so.
Okay, then we'll move on to the California Highway Patrol update. I see Captain Bernier is on here. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Yes, thank you, and appreciate being able to see everybody again. Before I got started on our stats here, I just wanted to thank you all again for the support you gave us during the city of Lancaster after we lost Officer Andy Ornelas. We were very grateful for all the support that the city gave. Marv Christ really came through for us and helped us and the family in so many different ways. And I know he had the support of a lot of city council members who offered up assistance, and the mayor, and just everybody came together along with members of the community. So just wanted to thank you guys again and let you know that now that COVID's starting to wind down, in a couple months, we have an event planned where we'd like to recognize some of you for what you did. And you'll be getting some information soon on that. But before, now that I've said that, I would like to kind of go through some of our stats, which aren't looking very good. The fatal collisions in the Antelope Valley area for the CHP have gone up about 25% when we compare it with the number of fatal collisions that we were at during the first quarter of last year. And that's considering that, 2 of those weeks at the very end there were during the lockdown when really we didn't have any fatals during that period. So it's kind of just something to think about when you're thinking about the stats. But the 25% increase is pretty big for us. We're also seeing a 200% increase in fatal collisions that were caused by unlicensed drivers. And it seems like unlicensed drivers are becoming a more common thing. I know that DMV did an extensive study years back where they looked at a really like a 10-year period and noted that unlicensed drivers were 3 times more likely to cause a fatal collision than someone who has a license, which I think is just something we can't take lightly. Vehicle theft, like the Captain Weber was saying, countywide, I was able to get the stats countywide, and it's up 43% when you compare it to the same time period last year, which is pretty big. And so the Sheriff's Department and I are getting together. We're going to be meeting about that. We're going to be meeting about the fatal traffic collisions and what we can do to collaborate together and work together to try to bring those numbers down throughout the valley, because I know not just in our jurisdiction, but also in the cities of Palmdale and Lancaster, the same trends are happening with the fatal traffic collisions. Pursuits are up 200% from the same time period last year for us. And I think that also has a lot to do with the vehicle thefts. A lot of the pursuits are beginning with someone who's driving a stolen vehicle. So I think that has something to do with it, along with a few other factors. Also, just resisting arrest. I just kind of was looking through our stats for that. And we've seen a 400% increase in the number of resisting arrest cases we've had, where officers are having people that aren't cooperative when we go to place them under arrest. And we've had a lot more refusals to submit to blood and breath tests. We've had to do the warrants and all that. And luckily, Antelope Valley Hospital has been great. And they help us with those once we get the warrant. And so far, we've been able to do those without anybody getting injured. And then firearms violations that we've come across have been up 25% as well when compared with the same period last year. So in addition to collaborating with the Sheriff's Department, we're also kind of reconfiguring the way we operate. We have less staffing than we did last year. I know the department statewide is down about 1,000 personnel based on just retirements, and then the academy was shut down for a while due to COVID, and then they've restarted it. But recruitment for all law enforcement is an issue right now. And so we're hoping we get some more personnel up here, just like we always have been. They did allot us 7 more slots, which is good. I've been fighting for that ever since I've been here. And they finally listened to me and gave me 7 more slots, but that's just on paper. Now we need to physically be able to fill them with officers that are graduating from the academy, which hopefully will be resuming here very, very shortly. But that's all I have for my presentation, unless anyone has any questions for me.
Captain Bernier, are the unlicensed drivers, are these underage drivers, people that haven't bothered to get a license, or people whose license have been revoked? Is there a trend in that regard?
I haven't gone through the stats to differentiate them, but just from what I'm hearing and what I've seen on the paperwork side of it as it comes across, it seems like the majority of them are people whose licenses have been suspended for whatever reason, whether it be negligent operator or for a DUI or for things like that. Then right after that is just people that never bothered to get a license. So I'd say the most of them are suspended.
Thanks.
And I know that we've been working with the DA's office to try to figure out ways to still hold people accountable, regardless of their directive to not file those cases as misdemeanors. And we're at least trying to get them filed in certain cases as infractions for first-time offenders, and then for repeat offenders, we're able to file charges, and we're just kind of working with them to hopefully have some kind of accountability for someone that decides to drive without a license, seeing as how it's not too hard to maintain a valid driver's license. So when you don't, and you go out there and you drive, you should be held accountable, in my opinion.
Thank you very much, Captain. I would definitely appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Captain.
Okay, District Attorney's update. Mr. Sherwood.
Okay, sorry about that. I was a little trouble unmuting myself. Good morning, everybody. Obviously, we've had a lot of changes in our office this year since we've last met. I'm obviously free to answer any questions anybody might have about those changes. I think there's a number of them, and it would probably take me forever to go over all of them. And I don't know what changes anybody's heard about or what changes are impacting City of Lancaster more than some of the others. So again, I'm free to answer any questions. I will say, just based on our looking at the filing numbers, our felony filings are about the same. We filed 100 felonies last month of March, which is pretty right in line with what we were filing through all of last year. There wasn't much of a change for us in terms of felonies. In terms of misdemeanors, we're filing about half the number of misdemeanors, and that has to do in large part with the fact that we are no longer prosecuting drug possession, simple drug possession offenses, drug paraphernalia offenses, and as Captain Bernier pointed out, we are no longer filing driving on suspended licenses or driving without a valid driver's license unless there's a pattern of those sorts of violations. So generally 2 or more within the preceding 2 years, there is an exception for us, and we will file misdemeanor charges in those cases. That does not include if your license was suspended because of a DUI, we are prosecuting those. I think negligent operator suspensions, those would still be filed. But if your license was suspended because you failed to appear or you didn't pay a traffic ticket and you get what's called a 14601.1, those offenses are not being filed unless you have a series of them over the preceding 2 years. And that's resulted in a drop of about 50% of our misdemeanor filings. So we were filing about 300 misdemeanors a month. We're down to about 150. So it has freed up the misdemeanor courts for us to handle some of our more serious matters. We are seeing some more violent crime come in. We don't have a gang prosecutor anymore, so we're working on trying to get a new gang prosecutor. I did designate one of our staff to fill that role until we can maybe get a new gang prosecutor. But I'm seeing, and sometimes I don't know if it's Lancaster or Palmdale, but we are seeing an uptick in gang-related shootings in terms of the cases that are coming into our office, and our office, Antelope Valley branch, will now be prosecuting those instead of the hardcore gang unit, which was handling those up until today or tomorrow, actually. So tomorrow that officially takes place. So that's kind of the basics. If anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to do my best to answer them.
Mr. Sherwood, and I may be inaccurate on this, so please feel free to educate me, but it seemed to me, at least in the news, in the media, that there was a conflict between deputy district attorneys being required to follow the law as it was written, particularly with respect to use of guns and priors and so on, and a directive from the district attorney telling the deputies not to do that. And there was that conflict that seemed to exist. What's the status of that? Or am I correct in that impression?
Yeah, you're correct. That was the issue. That issue was actually litigated. And as of right now, there's an injunction that prevents the deputy district attorneys from not filing strike offenses. So under the special directive, initially, we were not allowed to file strike offenses, which essentially is a prior conviction for a serious or violent felony. And that without going into too much detail, expands the punishment, generally doubles it, can ultimately make it a 25 to life sentence. It's the 3 strikes law. So there was an injunction, and now we are mandated by the court to file the strike offenses and to file the and to re-add them if they were if they had not been added. So if we had filed cases and we hadn't filed the strikes, we are now mandated to file those. So that was a change. In terms of the gun allegations, we're not allowed to dismiss them if they are already added in a pending case. If they were not filed, we are not allowed to add them unless we get approval from our bureau director, which is the person that is above me. And in those circumstances, we're only allowed to add what's called it's a 12022.5 gun allegation. It's the gun allegation that's been in effect since before I joined the office 25 years ago. We're not allowed to add the 1022.53 allegation. I'm getting into the weeds a little bit here, but essentially the 12022.5 allegation adds an additional 3, 4, or 10 years to the sentence. The 12022.53 allegation, depending on whether you use the gun, discharge the gun, or discharge the gun and cause great bodily injury, is 10 years addition, 20 years, and 25 to life. So we've gone from a gun allegation that carries 10, 20, 25 to life to 3, 4, 10. So we are, with permission, allowed to add the 12022.5 allegation, but we're still prohibited from the from adding that 12022.53 allegation. I don't know if we're not allowed to add gang allegations. So I think that's the bulk of what we're dealing with.
Good. All right. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, well, I'm going to share something, my experience, and Mr. Sherwood, I think you're aware of this because I emailed you previously, but I think some frustration and to put a kind of a real face on some of these changes. December of 2019, my father was walking from the gas station mini mart back to his car at the pump. It was after dark. It was raining. A guy speeding through the parking lot ran him over. In the video, you could see the guy was looking out his window, not where he was going. He had no car registration, no insurance, no driver's license. The CHP responded at the scene and did an incredible job. And so I want to thank Captain Bernier for what his office did in the situation. The guy was the person who hit him, due to all those factors, was charged with a misdemeanor. Obviously, the system takes a little while. My father never recovered from those injuries. He struggled for about a year in recovery, and then in combination with some other health issues, he passed away this past December. At that time, a couple weeks after he passed, I found out that the hearing on the person charged was just a few days after he passed. I reached out to the district attorney's office, to the DA I had spoken with prior, who was handling it, to ask the status. Never got a response. It wasn't until I CC'd Mr. Sherwood that I even got a response several weeks later. At that time, I was told because of how my father filled out the paperwork, the misdemeanor was dropped to a traffic ticket, to an infraction. Number one, that was not forthright, given that this is the new DA's policy not to prosecute misdemeanors. And so I have a concern there, but I think the public needs to know what's really happening with this. Somebody, through gross negligence, causes a death and gets traffic ticket. So I personally want to thank the deputy district attorneys who have been fighting this and encourage them in what they're doing. But the public needs to know the real effects of these and how it's affecting real families. Does anybody have any other questions for Mr. Sherwood?
So, Mr. Sherwood, I don't certainly want to put you on the spot on this, and I don't expect an answer, but it certainly appears to me that we have a pro-criminal district attorney in office, and it's putting the citizens in the county of Los Angeles at great risk. But that's just my comment.
Well, what I can tell you is that we here in Antelope Valley, we're doing the best that we can. We're short-staffed as it is. We're doing the best that we can to handle the serious, the volume of cases that we have to deal with out here, not just not just this year, but since, I've spent most of my career as a deputy district attorney with the Antelope Valley branch. Of the 25 years, I think I've probably spent close to 20 of them here in Antelope Valley. And there's a lot of really hardworking people here, and we're doing the best we can to protect the public and operate under the directives that we have. So we do still have some tools at our disposal, and we are I think we're doing the best we can to keep the public safe and deal with the volume of violent crime that we have to deal with, because we deal not just with the city of Lancaster, but we also have Palmdale and other outlying areas, and so we're it's a busy place, and the DAs here work really hard, and unfortunately, like Drew's story, he's not the only one. I don't have enough fingers and toes to count the number of stories, but we're doing the best we can, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see how things go. I don't have I have no comment other than that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Sherwood? Okay. And again, I do want to specify I'm not targeting those comments at you, but the policy. My experience with you and so many of your deputy DAs there, I think I have an idea where your hearts are, and appreciate what you've been doing.
Thank you.
City attorney update.
Good morning. Nice to see everybody. Looking forward to seeing you all in person. Just a couple of quick updates. A couple of years ago, and we may have talked about it in CJC, I frankly don't remember, the City Council adopted a shopping cart ordinance, which was intended to put the responsibility for shopping carts found out in the public away from the store, put that responsibility back on the store owner rather than the city to retrieve those carts and return them to the stores, which is what we've been doing for years and years. That ordinance also included, as allowed under state law, that if the city impounds a shopping cart, we can charge, if we need to give the store 72 hours notice, they have 72 hours to come pick up the cart at no charge. If they don't pick it up within the 72-hour time frame, we can charge for the cost of the retrieval, the staff time, and then a daily impoundment fee. So we took the fees to City Council earlier this year. They became effective March 1st. On February 1st, we changed our internal policy so that our contracted cart retrieval company, rather than taking the carts back to the store, are taking them to the yard. If the cart retrieval company has a contract with a store, then they'll take it to the store and charge the store rather than charging the city the $5 a cart that they had been charging us. So since February 1st, we have impounded 408 shopping carts from out and about on public sidewalks and, in the wash and all of the other places where the transients tend to leave them or use them. 408 have been impounded. 375 have been retrieved by stores so far. I don't have any information yet on the fees that have been collected. As I said, that went into effect March 1st. I've asked staff in the Public Works Division to provide us with a quarterly report of breakdown of the stores, which stores carts are being retrieved and impounded more often, and what kind of fees we're recovering from the stores related to the impoundment. But I'm hoping that, that's a pretty substantial number of carts, and I'm hoping that we and the public will be seeing a difference, seeing an effect on the public streets. I know that I've seen city staff trucks with carts in the back of them, because that's what all city staff that's out there in the field and has a pickup truck is supposed to do. If they see a cart, they throw it in the back of the truck, and at the end of their shift, they take it to the yard and drop it off. So I hope that you'll see a noticeable effect with regard to that. The other ordinance of significance that has recently been adopted was one which added Article 5 and Article 6 to the Lancaster Municipal Code's General Business License Chapter relating to sidewalk vendors and food truck operators. The sidewalk vendor portion of the ordinance was written in line with the requirements under Senate Bill 946, which was enacted at the state a couple of years ago, became effective at the beginning of last year. and really limits the ways a city can restrict or regulate sidewalk vending. We're strictly limited to issues related directly to public health and safety. So we have provisions that set out the locations where sidewalk vendors can be and where they can't be. They cannot be on unpaved areas and unpaved roads, unpaved, undeveloped lots. If they're going to be on private property, like with a cart, it has to be on a paved premises, and they have to have the written authorization of the property owner. We're hoping ultimately that will help cut down on some of the carts and the flower people that we see on the undeveloped private lots. I know you know some of the areas that we're talking about. With respect to food truck, we have some regulations there as well. We have to allow them, of course. We're not trying to restrict them, but to make sure that they're operating in a location and in a manner that is safe and sanitary and protects public health and safety and doesn't obstruct motorist vision and those kinds of things. Lee and I actually did a little bit of training with the code enforcement and public safety officers about 3 weeks ago, kind of familiarized them with some of the main provisions of these two new articles. I put together a little cheat sheet or a matrix for them. I might, if you're interested, I can share those with you after the meeting. We can get those emailed out to you to kind of see what the highlights are. And if you have any questions, we can discuss them at the next meeting. I'd be happy to do so. Although the ordinances are now in effect, we haven't actually begun enforcement yet. We're still internally in the implementation and training period. I expect that we'll start actually enforcing probably the 1st of May would be my guess. And that's, I think, all I have for the moment, unless there are any questions.
Jocelyn, as far as implementing that is I know we really can't control. Obviously, they're going across the street to unincorporated areas. And obviously, LA County has no way of policing that or wanting to police it, or I'm assuming. Is there anything, does it go directly to the property owner at that point in time? Obviously, the ordinance that's being set forth is saying that they have to be in paved areas, they have to health department approved, which we've always said that is something that every restaurant has to come by. But a lot of these things I'm seeing, and the way the city has pockets everywhere, they can go park and you can be right across the street and then you're surrounded by city of Lancaster, city of Palmville, but yet this little pocket is unincorporated. Dirt lots and everything else. So I'm going to have to address some properties that we have that we're looking at in unincorporated areas. It's become incredibly crazy as far as every vendor in the world. We've posted signs, we've done this, we've done that. LA County says they're going to help, but obviously we see nothing at that point in time. What happens? I mean, obviously it's kind of like, here we are, and it doesn't seem to work at this point in time.
I am not familiar with how vigorously county enforcement officers are enforcing whatever their sidewalk vendor ordinance is. I'm fairly familiar with the public health requirements in terms of licensing and sanitation and all of that. I'm not sure how vigorously their health officers go out and inspect when they receive complaints, quite frankly. And of course, I have no power over them. We have no jurisdiction or authority over them. I can touch base with Lee. I don't know. I personally don't have any contacts with county enforcement, but maybe we can try to develop some sort of joint task force where we kind of address it all at once in a uniform manner. That's the best I can come up with.
Yeah, I think something, because I do know some of the property owners have said when they've contacted LA County, they said, once you post and do the things that you should do, we'll let you know. We're trying to police it, but call the sheriff's department. And I'm always going, okay, the sheriff's department has so many other things that they're doing and have to do. And it just doesn't seem right that we're taxing the sheriff's department to go out there and say, hey, you're not supposed to be here.
The county actually has a team that is inclusive of a couple deputies that work the unincorporated area on their NAT team, okay, which has someone for building and safety, a code enforcement people, everything else as a team. But honestly, they probably spend the majority of their time in the East County area. dealing with issues out there in the unincorporated county in the east. We can certainly set up a meeting with them, as we've collaborated them with on some efforts in the past within those county islands within the community that you're talking about. And we can come up with something maybe to identify that for maybe in periods of time. Okay, to do some collaborative work with them as we're doing some operational enforcement, that they can join us with it. They're not uncooperative. Okay, I think it's a lack of resources that is kind of typical for us in our area and the unincorporated side, that creates some of that, along with the volume of issues they deal with throughout the county. So you know, they've got a lot of type of code enforcement issues, especially in the east and unincorporated county.
Yeah.
So, but I can definitely put something together, and Jocelyn and I can meet with them and certainly report back out to you and put those meetings in place with the supervisor's office through them.
Thanks, Lee.
Okay. Any other questions for? Was that your report, Lee, or were you just asking?
Oh no, I'm not. That was just weighing in on.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Into Jocelyn's time to answer Jeff's question, but you know, I mean, it's an issue, and we get a lot of complaints that come here that are not within the city's jurisdiction. And you know, as we continue to move the city's boundaries around, that's why we're really focusing on the density aspect of it, because we spread those resources all over the place. Well, multiply that by 100 times in an unincorporated county for our area. So it's significant. But if you'd like me to move in, I got a few things to talk about.
Well, let's see.
Since I haven't got to talk to you guys in a while.
Yeah.
In this format.
Let me just check
in. The city's been kind of, access to city hall's been somewhat mitigated through this process and everything. We at the city have still remained very, very active in the things, especially that we're operating out of and within the public safety department, and how we're trying to address a lot of these quality of life issues. As Jocelyn brought forward on some of the ordinance things that have a direct impact on how we look at our community. Okay. And the truth is, we all go back to different theories like broken window theory, or how we maintain the public access ways, as well as our landscape maintenance districts and everything, is we have to pay attention to those things so we don't fall into a blight situation in certain areas of the city. So with recently, in the process over the last time since we've been away, the code enforcement folks have come back under our jurisdiction. Okay, and we're kind of looking at different ways to manage those code enforcement issues as it relates to more focused attention in the most needed areas of our community. Okay, so there's a whole reorganization taking place right now, primarily based on the planned implementation of the hybrid model, which I'll talk about that in a minute, and where we're going as an agency as it relates to public safety. We have things coming up for renewal contracts with the Sheriff's Department. I definitely want to talk to Captain Bernier more about the issues with the number of fatalities and the number of drops and citations being written, and things that we need to do to try and assist both them and the Sheriff's Department as it relates to that. Because believe me, it's kind of shocking to see where those numbers are. Some of the things that we've been operating out of public safety and working with our sheriff deputies in town is, one of them is dealing with inoperable or unregistered vehicles on our roadways. You know, typically going back to Chairman Mercy's comments, we have a lot of significant people that are driving around this community. They don't have driver's licenses, have unregistered vehicles, that have no insurance, and those things that potentially put those of us that in the community that live and work here in danger. It's dangerous. And that's an example, his example of those things, because there's a lot of disregard for the community as a whole as those individuals operate within our community. So while as the DA policy, which Mr. Sherwood, trust me, is dedicated to our community, I'm sure there's a lot of angst and frustration, just as many of us probably have with some of these issues. You know, we do the best we can within the circumstances we're dealt, and we have to be innovative about how to operate maybe in a different manner that addresses those issues. That may not be what is traditional. So those are some of the things we've taken on. We also continue our our homeless interaction. We've become very involved with our city housing people as it relates to homelessness, as well as the Kensington campus and some of the advocacy agencies and support agencies that exist to really focus on some of those issues. At the same time, the humanitarian aspect is important, but we also have an impact on the community as a whole that we address. And I'm going to be bringing some numbers to you in the next meeting and have a presentation from our contract guys that go out and deal primarily with those issues, along with our public safety specialists. I think you're going to be quite surprised at the numbers that are putting up with contacts versus cleanups versus some of the things we've done as a city and with a local contractor for cleanups as it relates to homeless encampments as well as illegal dumping. So just recently, based on the implementation of just the illegal dumping side, our caseload went from 250 backlog cases down to almost zero. Okay, right now. So we're staying up on top of that. So that's gone very well. We're actually going to assign 2 of those contract guys specifically to those investigations as it relates to those illegal dumping sites, and those will be managed through Jocelyn's office. I actually had a visit out at the Kensington campus 2 weeks ago. We had 192 calls for service in a year at that location to kind of work with the staff there and really develop what the issues are. The truth is, out of 192 sheriff responses, only a very small number of those resulted in an actual crime or someone being taken into custody. So we really working together with the staff out there and the service providers to talk about what the expectation should be, what that response should be, and what's appropriate. Now, of course, the Sheriff's Department's always going to respond when someone calls, but we're trying to work around with them on identifying those issues that are becoming problematic and deal with those and reduce that resource drain and call for service. I actually participated in a teen talk last week that some members of the Sheriff's Department community members participated in with our local high school district. We're talking about issues and breakout sessions with our local youth, which was very interesting. I think our local students are a lot more engaged than we probably realize in things that are occurring within the community as well as the country. So that was enlightening. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up and I welcome any input of what you'd like to discuss. But for each meeting moving forward, we're going to bring forward a presentation of some things that we're working on and bring those numbers to you. And I think the first one will be an update on the hybrid model, where we're currently at, how we're developing that first phase and what our plans are for implementation and what's going to be entailed in that. The guys that we were working with from that group will be out some more to speak to us so we can get more updated on things that are occurring in our community. And some good things are happening and we're staying busy. You know, the public safety office covered the security at the hospital for that group that came in and set up for 24/7 for the entire time they're here. And the city as a staff level, our 60 to 80 employees a day are operating those vaccine sites here at the fairgrounds. So there's a lot of demand, personnel here, but we're rising to the occasion and managing it. So that's all I have for now, unless there's any questions moving forward. But I'd like to set that calendar with the Chairman Mercy as far as what those presentations will be moving out, to set a calendar for them and whoever we involve in those presentations.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Grieco. Much appreciated. I know I've passed on several folks over to you that were having problems, particularly during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. You know, we want to do everything we can to help the homeless population. But we also need to protect the families and businesses that live in those areas. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
No problem, sir. That's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Grieco? Okay. Well, next up is the state legislative update. I don't know if Assemblyman Lackey's office is here, so I'll kind of switch hats for a moment and give an update from Senator Wilk's office. The legislature's back in session for the spring. There are many public safety bills. Obviously, the national environment we're in, where the media has picked up on several high-profile trials and incidents with law enforcement. So there's quite a bit of legislation aimed at police reform, how they're calling it, but really the concern that we have is that it's weakening law enforcement and putting more people at risk. Once we're right now, we're in the middle of the committee process. Policy committees are hearing bills and seeing, so we'll have a better idea in a few weeks which of these bills are actually moving forward. So next month, what I'd like to do is come and present some of the top higher profile bills that are working through. For any of the law enforcement agencies, if there's bills that you're aware of that you're concerned of, feel free to reach out to me offline or share now, and I'll make sure to include those that are affecting any of your agencies. Happy to answer any questions or if anybody has anything. Okay. Well, that concludes our updates and reports. Public business from the floor on non-agendized items.
At this time, anyone wishing to comment on non-agendized items, please press *9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your call-in number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. State law prohibits the commission from taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Please press *9 at this time. Caller with the last 4 digits, 2630, please press *6 and state your name.
Yes, hello. My name is Stephen Updike. I'm a health educator at Tarzana Treatment Center, and I would just like to announce our participation for the National Drug Take Back Day event coming up on April 24th in cooperation with the DEA and Kaiser. The event will be at the Butterfly Building for Kaiser on Avenue L, and it'll be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's a Saturday, and it's a drive-through drop-off, no questions asked. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Actually, before you go, so that's for prescription drugs as well?
It is for prescription medication.
Okay.
Drive-through drop-off, no questions asked.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no. We have no additional speakers at this time.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any commissioner comments?
Not at this time for me, no.
Okay.
No, it's nice to see everyone again. I've enjoyed that, and I'm watching Jeff. He seems to have a Jack Daniels bottle there on his desk, and I hope that makes the meeting more tolerable.
Pure leaf. Pure leaf.
And that was it.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you. Yes, it's definitely good to see everybody and start getting back to work. Appreciate everybody and hope everyone's doing well and families are safe and healthy. I don't have anything more to add. So if unless somebody has something else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to our next regular meeting, which will be May 12th at 10 a.m.
Will the next meeting be Zoom or in person, or do we know yet?
I'll leave that to as of now. I don't think anything has changed from the state directives on how to meet.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So yeah, I think unless the governor announces another change, I think we'll still be Zoom.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved
by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Fuller. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Or do we need do we need a roll call for that?
We need a vote. Oh.
No, you're good.
Okay, great. Okay, all opposed? Motion carries. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank
See
you.
you later.
Thank you,
Take
everyone.
care.